Welcome back to Operation Self Reset. This is episode number 94. I'm Jake Naraki, and now it's time to press the reset. What is going on, Reset Nation? Welcome back to another great episode of Operation Self Reset. I am Jake Naraki. Like always, we are here to motivate, inspire, and to get you one step closer to personal change. Like always, you guys freaking rock. This is kind of off the cuff. It's Tuesday night, actually the night before this podcast airs, just because I felt I needed to do a solo episode and reconnect with you guys, the people that are listening out there. Truly, thank you for all the support, all the emails, the phone calls. We'll get to that in a minute, but it's really been a whirlwind, and I'm getting close to episode 100, and it's been freaking awesome, truly. Because considering early in the year, I decided to do a weekly podcast, and at first I was like, I could do that, and like anything, life gets in the way, and sometimes I'm staying up really late the night before, but I'm absolutely loving it because I know that you guys are finding value in this, or else you would be turning this off. So a couple of housekeeping things that I want to touch on. First off, number one, a lot of you guys out there have been sending me emails about the volume of the podcast itself. I apologize. I have a new system in place with a new microphone, and what I hear is not what is published for some odd reason. It's getting jarred or whatever. So please stay tuned. I will be improving that very shortly. And then also, too, let's give a big round of applause to my buddy David Vox. Last week, Wednesday, he gave an awesome interview about his life story. If you haven't checked it out already, go on over to episode number 93 with David Vox. Awesome guy, awesome interview, and I really appreciate you coming on, David, if you're listening to this right now. And something kind of cool about this episode here today, I'm going to be talking about my experience with the Unleash the Power Within seminar/conference I did with Tony Robbins. I was not participating in the seminar. I was a fan. I was there in the audience with over 8,000 other individuals in Chicago, Illinois. And I tell you what, obviously, if you've been listening to this podcast long enough, you know my aspirations is to become the next Tony Robbins, right? When I saw him on stage and his gargantuan personality, his gargantuan body structure, he's 6'7", like probably around 280. He's just a behemoth of a man with this deep, gravelly voice, and he just drags you into his stories. He is the true master. I've gone to conferences around the world. I've gone to conferences that have been really elite, but I have never experienced the impact that Tony Robbins gave to me personally. And I'm a big fan of him. I knew what he was going to be presenting. I never expected the amount of value that I occurred. And I'll be taking you guys through that a little bit of the things I personally learned from attending his seminar. Again, I'm not saying you need to go and spend the money to go and see him and stuff like that, but if you are interested in this space, interested in improving your own personal life to that next level, I hands down go, and you will be blown away. You will truly come out a different person. It's unbelievable the impact that he has on people. And I kind of know behind the scenes stuff that he's doing, the certain actions that he's making us do to interact with him. And I know that, and yet I fell into that trap of just being totally taken over by his information. And it was a really big game changer for myself. So before I get into that, there was a great fan that suggested that this podcast is like vitamins for her brain. And it was really touching to me because I realized that, we take care of ourselves. Or we know we should, right? I mean, we know we should, take fish oils. And we know we should, eat greens every single day and fruits and a balanced diet. And we don't, right? But we know, though, when we get sick and things hit us and we get a cold, the flu, a bug, we go, man, I got to start taking care of my body. I got to stop staying up so late. And, for me personally, when I first started this journey of putting my platform online and getting myself out there, I was up until like 2 o'clock in the morning every single night. And then I had to wake up early at 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. with the newborn child. And I was so jacked on being a part of, bringing a new member into this world, my son Nolan. and then also too, providing great content to you guys and trying to make my website look good, and all those little things that you think are really a big deal, but they're really not in the long run. And I wore myself out to the point of I had the flu for 2 days, and maybe I got it from somebody. Maybe I caught it, because the fall was coming or whatever. But I truly believe the reason why I got the flu was because I was just maxed out. I was taxed. I mean, there was no other way to explain it. I knew I was staying up late. I knew I wasn't getting the right amount of sleep, but I was totally gassed, and my body had to shut down. So what good was I for those 2 days while my wife was running around like a maniac taking care of a newborn with our first child? And now having 2 children, it makes me realize how easy the first child was. But when you don't have any previous children, that one child really seems like a really big deal. So it's pretty funny. But so getting back to the vitamins for your brain, I think it was just really reassuring that no matter if you're listening to this podcast or audiobooks or different podcasts or whatever it is that you can utilize to help you get to that next level, you need to feed your brain. I think we all understand that. That is why you're listening to this. But you really need to understand that when you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like listening to Operation Self Reset, or you don't feel like listening to that audiobook and you just want to relax or whatever, sometimes you need to push past that pain. Sometimes you need to know that I need to force feed myself this information. And even though you might be daydreaming, and even though you might not be 100% engaged and taking notes and really shaking your head like, oh yeah, this really makes sense to me, sometimes we just need to do it no matter if we feel like it or we don't. And speaking of feelings, there was a gentleman that reached out to me. I was on his podcast, and the one thing that I said that really connected with him was you can't go off a feeling. Nobody ever feels like they want to get up and go to work. You might even have a job that you actually like. You might like your coworkers. You might like the things that you do. There will be times you just don't feel like getting up and going to work. I think that happens to every single person. But the thing is, you don't just lay in bed because you don't go off your feelings. So why do we choose to go off our feelings when it's time to improve ourselves, or when it's time to go work out, or when it's time to do the things necessary to get our life in order, like to organize your finances or to sit down with a financial planner? Whatever it is, those things, we can't just go off of emotion because we never feel right. And even though you say, well, I need my cup of coffee, or I need a day relaxation or whatever, that only lasts short term. Who here has drank a 3-shot espresso, latte, mocha, joba, all that jazz from Starbucks, and you're flying high? I mean, you're jacked up. I mean, you're just like, you feel it hit your lips and it tastes so good, and then you just get that wave of energy and you're like jamming out in the car and you're pumping away and you're like, I could take on the world, and then you start rifling all the things you need to do, like a to-do list, and I'm going to do that when I get home and all that stuff. And by the time you get home, that buzz starts to wear off, and next thing you know, you're kind of just burnt out. And I think that happens to every single person because we get on these emotionally highs with the imbalance, of the caffeine into our body, and we get all hyped up, and then it just relaxes because it gets released. We can't force ourselves to always drink that cup of coffee before we do something. We sometimes need to get ourselves to get into that momentum, get into that state of becoming a better person, of doing those things that we need to do in our own personal life. Hopefully that made sense. I don't even know. After a while here, I was kind of rambling, but nonetheless, we'll talk about state in a couple minutes here. Where was I going with that? I don't know, but it was basically saying that you cannot allow your emotions to run your life. Nobody ever feels like doing blank, cleaning the house, taking care of the lawn, doing the laundry, folding the clothes, just doing the simple things around your life. Nobody ever feels like it, but you have to force yourself. So you need to take those vitamins for your brain. You need to force feed yourself that great information to get yourself into that state, into that next level. Because the people around you, chances are, they're listening to the radio, they're watching the news, they're doing things that are normal. You are not normal. You're trying to exceed the expectations that you have set for yourself. And the only way to do that is to force feed yourself those vitamins for your brain to get yourself to that next level. So let's go on to the next thing here. A couple of fans I want to say thank you to. A couple of podcasts ago, I talked about giving away my own personal phone number on the podcast. I put my cell phone number out there, and there's 4 people that contacted me, and one individual, John, he's from Kentucky, left me a voicemail. And he just said, you know what, I appreciate all the things you do, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not trying to tip my hat, but I want to give a shout out to John for taking action. John and I had a great conversation for maybe 20 minutes talking about his life, my life, the things that we want in our lives, the things that we're going through personally, but we know we can stick together and overcome the difficulties. And it's really, really cool to connect with you guys. And I'm saying, you know what, if you don't want to do email, if you don't want to text me, if you don't want to, whatever, send me or just call me. Just call me. That's what I'm saying. So give me a call at my number 1-4-550-4012, and I will listen to your voicemail and I'll call you back. It's as simple as that. And also too, I want to give a thanks to Jen Reed. She called me out last week on the podcast. I actually sent out the wrong episode last week for some odd reason, a technical glitch on my end. And speaking of technical glitches, I'm always looking for improvement. And I appreciate the feedback from you guys, and I hope in your own personal life you guys get feedback and or you ask for feedback, because the only way to improve, not only for you individually, but in your job, in your relationship, is to ask for feedback. A great question to ask your significant other if you guys are having issues in your relationship. The one thing that I read from Jack Canfield, and also I took his coaching course. I'm trying to get myself into the mode of helping you guys find the expectations and exceed in your own personal life. So I'm growing individually and taking these courses to help you guys in the long run. And one of the things that I learned personally that was really, really good was I asked my wife two questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, how am I as a father? And she said, oh, you're like a 9. You did a great job, 9 or 10. Like, you help out or whatever. And I'm not doing this to toot my own horn, but I think she probably said 9. And I said, okay, great. That's great feedback. Knowing that what I'm doing right now, I'm doing a good job. I'm taking care of the kids, I'm taking care of the house, all that stuff. But I said, this is the kicker. This is the part where you really dig deep, is what do I need to do to get to a level 10? And my wife sat there for a little bit like, oh, yeah, what do you need to do? And then, she started rifling off a couple of things, like having a set schedule in the morning. That was a big thing. Like in the mornings, I would kind of, feed the kids first, and then we would, play, or then we'd read a book, and she said, it'd probably be a good idea if we start to get them a routine. So when the school year came, we could kind of get them in a flow of things. I said, okay, cool. And of course there was some other issues, other ideas to get me to that level 10. But then the next question I asked her, I said, okay, well, how am I as a husband to you individually, not the family, not the household, to you individually? And she said, well, like an 8. And I said, okay, well, what do I need to do to get to a level 10? And then she started, sharing all these different ideas. And it was a really good conversation. It was just a really meaty conversation, no pressure. There was no argument. I didn't mess up, and then I was asking for forgiveness. It was just an open conversation. I let her speak her thing. I wasn't, critical. I wasn't, knocking her ideas. And it was just a really, really good way for me to understand what do I need to do to become better. And for you in your job, career, as a husband, a wife, a boyfriend, girlfriend, you're in school, you're hanging out with your parents all the time, whatever it is, if you're, a kid, just ask the people around you, how am I doing at blank? And then ask them, well, what do I need to do to get to a level 10? And get that input. And don't take it as a shot to you, or, you're not worthy, or you're actually not as smart as you thought you were. Take it as okay, wow, that's some good ideas. Or maybe they have some horrible ideas, and dismiss it. But nonetheless, you need that feedback to increase. That's the only way that you are going to grow personally. And once you know that, those little ideas can really help you to get to that next level, because that's what we're all trying to do. And one other thing that I want to share before moving on, when it came to love and loving my wife, and for you loving your spouse and significant other, my issue with my wife was getting to that, putting love in her checking account. There's another theory by Jack Canfield of that you need to place money in her bank account. And my thing is that I was not placing the right currency in her bank account. I would cook for her, clean for her, do things around the house. I was more of the manly man of doing physical things and showing her love through that, as opposed to what she wanted was was back massages, and just kind of, sitting together on the couch and, talking, sitting close together, cuddling, all that fun jazz. I don't know why I'm laughing about this. I don't know. I think it's just kind of weird of explaining to you my love relationship, but nonetheless, after asking my wife what is her currency for love, of course she had no idea what the heck I was talking about. So it took a little bit to kind of get the wheel spinning. But once I realized exactly what she needs to feel loved, it was good for me to know that. So when I wanted to give her love or pour love into her because she did something nice for me, I knew exactly what it was. And I think that's the big dilemma between men and women, is that men we give love, but it's in a different way. We give it in a different way, so we think we're providing love, but for the woman, she's not taking it in as love. She's taking it in as, well, he just likes to cook. He's just a good cook. He just likes to cook, so I eat his food and that's it. As opposed to you're thinking, I'm pouring my heart and soul into this food because I want her to really enjoy it and to feel nourished. But, that's where the dilemma is. So ask your significant other, doesn't matter if you're a woman or a male, what is your definition of love? What can I do for you? If the day was perfect, what could I do for you to make you fully in love with me, for me to do whatever it is for you, and just leave it at that and ask them. So a couple of to-do things here. Ask them on a scale of 1 to 10 how you're doing, what can you do to get level 10? And then when it comes to a personal relationship, ask them what is it that they find, what is it that they find the definition of their own personal love? What is it that you could do to really make them feel loved for that one day, if the stars were aligned and everything like that? So just ask them that, and I think those two questions will be really powerful to help you improve your relationships, and also to improve feedback coming back to you. Also, too, I want to give a shout out to Peter. He's in Birmingham, England. My man, he is in the police force out there. He did not do well on a promotional exam, but yet he still gave me gratitude of helping him. And I just want to say to you, Peter, man, you're not a failure unless you fully quit. And I know that this is not going to be the last time you do a promotional exam. And I just want to say, man, you know what? Just keep your head in there. Not doing well in promotion can really sting your personal ego. It can sting, your credibility. It can kind of ruffle a lot of feathers mentally inside of you. But you need to understand that you grew from this process. You're not a failure unless you quit, and you're not a quitter. So you're going to get back up, you're going to learn from your mistakes, and you're going to keep on moving ahead. And you're going to take a different course or get a different aspect on the couple of things that you did wrong during that process, and you're going to find a better mentor, and you're going to get yourself up ready for the next one to protect and serve the citizens of Birmingham, England. Obviously, you're part of the 1%. You're part of the individuals I speak to all the time in this podcast that is trying to improve themselves. So, Peter, man, if you need any help from me personally, let me know and let's get in contact. So now let's, change it up a little bit. Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within. He travels around the world. He has multiple different courses that he performs on. And to give you a background here, it was at a convention center in Chicago, Illinois. The convention center had around 8,000 people. Yes, 8,000 people. And it was quite the experience. There were speakers all over the place, screens all over the place, and it was truly like a concert, but not like a concert like you're just jamming out to your favorite band and you're like really getting into the music. It's a concert that you're surrounded by around 8,000 other individuals, and they play this upbeat, uplifting music. And you're not upbeat because of the music. Of course you are, because it kind of gets you going and moving and grooving. But the information that Tony feeds you is really impactful to make you really feel that you believe in yourself, and you believe that you can conquer, and you can believe that you are worthy of the things that you want in your life. And once they play that music and they turn down the lights and they have all the strobe lights and the color lights and all this other stuff going on, I tell you, it is simply freaking amazing. I can't even tell you the experience through this microphone. You would have to go and experience yourself. So if you have the opportunity, if you have an extra couple $100 laying around, go and see it. It will truly, truly change you. And it was just a very impactful weekend for myself. To give you a little more background, there was multiple different things he talked about. He talked about, your personal state. He talked about your emotional levels, how you show and reflect, the person that you are to other individuals. And it was just a really impactful weekend. I mean, I was laughing, I was crying, I was hugging people, I was jumping out of my body. I never jumped so high in my life, just really getting into the moment. It was really, really cool. So here are a couple of takeaways that I really thought were impactful to me personally. The one thing that he hit upon was fear. And I talk about fear all the time, and Tony believes that there's two types of fear. Number one, that we're not enough. We're not qualified. We're not smart enough. I don't know about that avenue. I'm not enough to connect with individuals, so that might limit me from getting to that next level. And then the second is, we won't be loved. Going over that line in the sand, a lot of us feel that people are going to turn their back to us and throw stones at us. But in actuality, that's not really the case. But he believes those are the two big reasons why people don't move past failure. And the one thing that he really hit upon to get ourselves past that failure bubble was kind of changing your state. Now, think of it like this. If you are from America, American football is very, very popular. If you're in Europe, it's soccer or football, depending on how you say it. Nonetheless, picture in your mind for a second somebody that is an elite athlete. Chances are they have some type of ritual before they go onto the court, before they go onto the field. They get jacked up. They listen to music. They really get hyped up into that state that they can conquer anything, because they cannot go on the field. They cannot go on the court without getting themselves mentally in the game, mentally knowing that they can win that match at that moment. And so the one thing that Tony kept on bringing up was change your state. A lot of us, including myself, we wake up emotionally wrecked. We're angry, we're sad, we're depressed, we feel that we're not worthy enough, I'm not comfortable with the situation today. But the one thing that he drilled into our head, and the one thing that I want to carry on to you, the listeners, from here on out, is changing our state, is literally getting jacked up and believing that you can conquer this moment, that you can change your psychology, your physiology into into a powerhouse of energy. And the one thing that he spoke about all the time was energy, energy, energy. And energy can allow you to conquer anything, because I have seen it in the flesh at that event. The one thing that he did was he suggested all of us kind of get sad. Grab a partner, you get sad. Show that partner how sad you can get. On a scale of 1 to 10, you're at level 1 right now, so you're kind of grumpy. And then he slowly moves up the chain, and next thing you know, you're at a level 10. You're pissed off, and you're like pushing and screaming and all that stuff. And then he goes, "Okay, partner, show him, reflect on him. What did he do to be in a sad state?" And then the partner describes, well, your eyes got really squinty and you got really grimacy, your shoulders rolled in and all that stuff. And so he did this with a couple of different emotions. And then finally we said, okay, well, how do you perform? How do you stand when you're excited? Okay, and he said on a scale of 1 to 10, you're excited at a level 1. You're kind of like hopping around, and he grew up the scale to level 10, and you're just jumping around ecstatic, right? Well, when you're at that level 10, you're not even thinking about that you're angry. You're not even thinking about you're depressed. You're not thinking about that you have this big meeting and you're nervous and all that stuff. So changing your state can help you ultimately in every situation. When you wake up in the morning, instead of feeling to yourself, ugh, man, I got to go to work today. Get yourself out of bed and get yourself in state. And the one thing that Tony Robbins does, which was really impactful, he paired it with high intensity music. all of us out there can believe and know and understand that music really connects us with each other. It connects us with our soul. It connects us with our mind and our body, and it just gets everything grooving together. So find that one musical piece, or maybe a collaborations of a couple, and play that music and get yourself in that state. Get yourself fired up. Hop around on your feet. Chant to yourself, yes, yes, yes. Get yourself mentally prepared for the challenge ahead, and also to get focused, because this is your opportunity to make a difference and to make an impact on that day. Get yourself into that state to get going. Now, obviously, me speaking through a microphone is not going to get you in that state, but nonetheless, go online and search Tony Robbins state. And I guarantee there's going to be people on there showing you how to get in state, jumping around, hooting and hollering and stuff like that. And it was really impactful, okay? So give that a try, because that state will allow you to throw your shoulders back, to stand up straight, to look authoritative, to have better influence, and ultimately to affect people around you in a positive manner, instead of being that negative Nelly all the time, grumping through, putting your head down, all that stuff. So give it a try and see what it can do for you. And of course, Tony has spoken about a lot of different things. Throughout the course, we also talked about limiting beliefs that are holding us back from not achieving our own personal goals. And, connecting with those limiting beliefs was really good for me to identify the things that are holding me back. So if you have time today, sit down and write to yourself, what are the limiting beliefs that you have in your life right now? What are they? It could be a sentence, like a paragraph. It could be people in your life holding you back, the issues from your old childhood, whatever. What are these limiting beliefs? And write them down on paper. And really think of the worst case scenario. Okay, so you do have people at work that really hate what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, so where does that lead? What is the next step? Okay, so they hate you. So what's the worst outcome? They come and shoot you? They're probably not going to do that. So what are these fake stories, these fake beliefs, the fake issues that you're plopping into your brain to make you realize that this limiting belief is worse than it is? Don't see it worse than it is. See it how it is. See it for what it is. You have coworkers that don't like what you're doing. Cool. Period. End of story. That's it. That's not going to hold you back, right? Because that is it. That is the worst case scenario. They're not going to chase you down in your car and throw sticks at you. They're not. They just don't like the direction you're going, and that's okay. So once you come clear on the limiting beliefs that are in your own personal life, you're guaranteed to at least somewhat change a little bit, get over that hump, and to make you realize that you can push past the personal pain that you have. Also, this was a very impactful thing that happened. On the first night, we did the fire walk, and if you're not unfamiliar with this, he brings all 8,000 people outside, and we walk over fire, literally coals. And I would say that the length of the fire walk was 8 feet. So there's 8,000 people, and he had 30 different stations of fire walkers. He had 3 volunteers at each lane, one person to stop you, before you start, one person to guide you over the coals, and the last person to have you stop and then wipe your feet, and then they would spray down your feet with hose. So me being a firefighter, put it this way, I've been in crazy fires that I felt like my hands were falling off, to the point of, I think all of us can relate to this. The one piece of equipment, the one article of clothing that is not perfected is the glove. Yes, mittens are great, but the glove, you need that dexterity. So there's a balance of protection from the elements. It could be cold, extreme heat or whatever. But also, too, you need that dexterity. You need to grab things. You need to feel what you're doing, right? So when it comes to our hands, I remember a great example. I was going into this fire, and I was crawling on my hands and knees. And I remember placing one hand in front of the next, and I remember thinking, man, my hands feel like they're literally burning, of course, but they really felt like there's needles. Have you ever put your hand in a cup of extremely cold water, and that ice, it's so cold that your hand starts to tingle, like you start to get those ants almost crawling over your hand? That's what it felt like when I was in this fire. So I was like, my brain was processing that doesn't feel right. So I cradled my hands, so I put them into fists, and I was kind of doing the gorilla walk, and my knuckles started to get that feeling too. And to the point of, I was so deep within the structure clear that there was no turning back. Like I could not go back. And all I could focus on, because the pain was so intense that my hands were blistering underneath my gloves, to the point of my brain was starting to play tricks on me that for some odd reason, my brain said to me, Jake, your hands are hurting so bad, it would probably be better if you took off your gloves. Now, luckily I didn't, but I thought to myself in that moment, and I kind of grabbed myself like, whoa, no, that's the stupidest thing ever. Do not take off your gloves. Like, this is your only line of protection. After your gloves is literally your bare skin. If my hands are burning, they need to burn inside of these gloves. Long story short, we got out. There was no victim, blah, blah, blah. I got outside. I immediately threw off my gloves, and I didn't even want to look at them. I had my eyes closed, and I was like, oh my gosh, my hands the skin must be peeling off. Literally, the skin is peeling off. I look at them. They're totally fine. Now, yeah, you could say, well, Jake, you're not as tough as I thought so. Well, nonetheless, I tell you what, man, that pain I've never experienced before, and it was something I'll never forget. So I know my pain tolerance, of course, but it was just really, really interesting to me. The pain that came from extreme heat. I thought it would just be like my hands are on fire. It was more of a needly, pricky, like just extreme pain as opposed to like a fire hot pain. But all right, anyway, so I'm in line with 8,000 other people, and we're chanting yes, 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 kind of getting ourselves into the mental state of you can accomplish anything. So I get up I start to see the line narrow down, and I'm about 3 people out. And the whole night, the whole evening, the whole day, I was not nervous for this at all. I knew we were going to walk on fire. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. So like I said, I get in line and I see a couple of people in front of me. Now I see the hot embers. It's pitch black. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Yes. The event went until 2 a.m. and I'm standing there chanting with these individuals. Yes, yes, yes. And I finally get up to the starting block, I'll call it. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm actually really nervous right now, because the thing is, I'm conditioned personally, me, and all of us are. I mean, nobody ever just walks over fire, right? Nobody walks on ashes. We have been taught from a little age, don't touch the stove, don't touch the fire pit, don't touch the matches, because it's hot, you can get burnt. With burnt comes pain. With pain comes you get yelled at by your parents. So we're just conditioned. And for me personally, as a professional firefighter, I am conditioned to know that I need to trust my gear. I need to inspect my gear every single day. I need to make sure that there's no holes, there's no irritations, there's no rips and tears, that it's going to allow the heat and the ashes to go into underneath the equipment and into my body and harm me. I need to make sure that my gear is in tip-top shape. So walking up to this lane of fire, I thought to myself, I'm just in my jeans and a light, long sleeve shirt. I was thinking, wow, I am not prepared for this. I need my fire boots. I need all this stuff. And when he said go, I put myself in state, and then I marched over it. Did I feel the heat? Yes, I did. I had a slight red mark on my left foot, and then a piece of ash got in between one of my toes on my right foot. But by the time I even recognized that pain in my mind, the fire walk was over. And for me, was it a life-changing event? Was it the game changer that I can say, from here on, I'm going to, dominate the world? No. For me, no. But I tell you what, being around 8,000 other people, and I would say probably 6,000 of those people thought that was the game changer for them. I got into that same mentality, and it was amazing. The emotional level, the incredible victory celebration people had once they crossed the ashes was unbelievable. And it was a really big turning point for me individually, because like I said, I've been conditioned my whole life, since I was 18 years old, to make sure I trust my gear and to walk up to something that I know is painful, that I know hurts you, that I've seen, not to get graphic, bodies completely burnt. Completely. I don't even want to get any deeper because it's just disgusting. I know the power of the flame. I know it on the human body. And to walk over that, at first, I was maybe a little Mr. Tough Guy, but now realizing the power of that experience really made me open my eyes to what's possible in my own life. And it was just a really impactful thing. Again, because I was around people that were loving it. And what I said in a previous couple of podcasts was about getting in the moment. I'm one of those guys, if you take me to a scary house, a haunted house for Halloween, I'm going to scream my butt off. I'm going to be that ridiculous person because you know why? I want to be in that moment. I want to engage in that activity. I don't want to be that tough guy walking through the haunted house like, oh, you didn't scare me. Man, that's a silly mask. No, I paid $20-$30 for this. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm that guy on the roller coaster, exact same thing, that's screaming his butt off because I paid for this experience and I want to enjoy it to the fullest. I want the euphoria. I want those endorphins released. I want my body to just appreciate that moment of ecstasy that has been released into me. I'm that guy. And after walking over that fire, it released that for me. And it was a really aha moment. So where am I going with this? Now, again, I'm not saying that you need to walk over fire to, get over your limiting beliefs and change things in your own personal life. But for me, it was bigger than I was expecting. So when I came home on Sunday night, obviously visited with the family and hung out with my wife. Monday, Tuesday, I started researching Tony Robbins. And the one thing that he suggested, and that I speak of all the time, is that if you want to master something, if you want to become the best chef, financial aid, CEO, parent, whatever, you need to model yourself after other successful people. And like I've been saying on this podcast, my number one person that I model is Tony Robbins. So what did I do? I went and I dug deep on Tony Robbins. I wanted to know, where did he learn his information? How did he get that good? Because the guy is a powerhouse of information. And I just started doing link backs and finding different articles and different, from different people and everything like that. And there's a gentleman that Tony Robbins learned the firewalk from, named Tali, and I don't want to, maybe I will give his last name in the show notes. I don't want to give everything away, but nonetheless, there's a gentleman named Tali in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California, and he taught Tony Robbins how to firewalk. And when I saw that, it was like, bam. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Number one, this Tali guy, he obviously worked with Tony when he was younger. Tony was on his way up and coming, and Tony wanted to learn the process of firewalking, and he contacted him. They got in contact, and I realized for me personally, I need to do this. Not because I need to do exactly what Tony Robbins did, but knowing the impact that it had on people and knowing where I want to go in my personal life, I could see this being a very close relationship to the exact things that I want to say in my presentations, to the impact that this firewalking experience can have. So come November, I am going to become a certified firewalker. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that I am going out to a 4-day seminar in the Sierra Nevada mountains. I think that's right. Sierra Nevada. I don't even know. But anyway, nonetheless, it's in California, and I'm going to be certified. I'm going to learn how to build it. I'm going to know how to take the people over it the correct way, getting in the right mindset, getting in the right state, getting yourself to believe that anything is possible, all that stuff. And I will incorporate that, not within the first, year here. I need to get some practice under my belt, but I will incorporate that into my seminars. Now, why am I doing that? Because number one, the impact is really important. But the second is that we've been conditioned a certain way. And if you can push yourself out of that cultural conditioning that we've been placed into, I think that it will open a lot of doors for people that have been held in. And for me personally, I know the avenue where I want to go. And I know that I'm only 30 years old. And to have this credibility as a firefighter and a certified firewalker, and then also now, obviously, the great thing about being a certified EMT is that if things get out of control, I'm right there and I know what to do. But it was just a really clear path for me. It was my aha moment, and I took action. And I know that there's people out there listening. Now, again, I just want to stop for a second. I'm not saying this stuff to toot my own horn. I'm not saying this stuff because I'm copying other people and look at me. I'm saying that I have a person that I want to become. Not exactly, not his home life and everything like that, but somebody that I want to have the same impact as, and I'm following in his footsteps. And for you, whatever it is that you want in your own personal life, there's somebody that's doing it to that extreme level. That's a master of whatever it is. Go out there and find them and connect with them. And the things that you can do to get yourself around these individuals, and I guess I'm kind of parlaying this with finding a mentor, is that the one thing that I lack a lot of people from getting to that next level is we don't feel like we don't have anybody above us pulling us up. So how do we get in contact with these individuals that can help us get to that next level? Well, then the first way is going to meetup.com, finding meetups in your local area. If you don't know any seminars, any conferences going on in your niche or your industry, meetup.com is a great way to connect with other locals in your neighborhood. Now, from there, you're going to have to network. So that means you're going to have to go to this event and you're going to have to meet these people and connect with them and share common interests. And if you're around people that you know that are into that subject, we'll say cooking, for example, then you know that these other individuals might know about a cooking seminar coming up, or a cooking clinic, or a cooking webinar or something coming up, and then you can start broadening your approach. Once you start connecting and getting bigger ideas out there, you can find the people that are elite in that industry. So if you're a cook, I like cooking. Bobby Flay, a huge fan of Bobby Flay. He's on the Food Network. He has a big his own cooking line at Kohl's and books and all that jazz. Bobby Flay is just awesome guy. But nonetheless, if I want to be the next Bobby Flay, I'm going to start reading his books. I'm going to start taking notes. I'm going to start practicing and cooking his material. And you know what I'm going to do in the meantime, when I start, kind of getting better at his cooking technique, I'm going to shoot a YouTube video of me cooking one of his classic meals and showing how good it turned out, and just saying, hey, Bobby, thank you very much for this awesome recipe. It really has grown me as a cook, and I appreciate you taking the time to write this in your book and to share this to everybody in the world. And you can either send that via Twitter, you can send that via Facebook, you can just, send it to an email address that may not get to him, but nonetheless, you got to start pouring value into Bobby. The reason is because Bobby's not going to reach out to you just saying, hey, thanks, I appreciate you writing this cookbook. It's really helped me cook better, period. Love, Jake. That's not going to get the response. You need to pour value into these people, because individuals that are a master of what you want like to see people get results. The more you give, the more you grow. And that doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a master of your industry. People like to see people grow. So if you can show that you have completed a couple of his recipes and you did a really good job, pour some gratitude into him. Say, hey, thanks. I was this person. I read your material, and now I did this. A, B, C, and D. Thank you. And you know what? If it doesn't happen the first time, if he doesn't respond the first time, if Bobby doesn't respond after my first YouTube video, that's fine. Because you know what? I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it until he responds. And once he responds, then hopefully I can build that bridge. Hopefully I can get that connection. Or hopefully maybe he could guide me in a different way. Maybe Bobby will be like, you know what, Jake, you know what, I'm too busy to be your guy for questions and answers, but you can talk to my apprentice, or you can talk to a guy that I'm training personally, and he can help you. That's how you start to find mentors in your own personal niche. That's how you grow as an individual. It's not only just reading things in your room and researching online. It's physically getting out there and connecting with people. That is truly still the only best way to get yourself out there into the next level. To get better, you need other people in your life. Nobody ever built a bridge alone. Nobody ever, went to space by themselves. Neil Armstrong, the guy that went to the moon, he is that iconic guy. But think of all the people below him that built the spaceship, that built the suit, that cooked his food, that gave him the shots, all that stuff. That's the team behind you. You need to start building your team. The only way to build a team is to get in front of people, network. And we'll be talking about networking in the next couple of podcasts. But nonetheless, much longer podcast than I was expecting. That's it. That's all I have for you guys. And if you're listening this far, again, feel free to give me a call. 414-550-4012, and let's connect, let's chat, let's see how we can help each other. Again, I'm a guy in my basement right now with my son sleeping in the room above me, just doing something that I personally love. I'm a nerd of personal development. I love it to the death, and I want to share this with the world. I've been very blessed at a young age to have been exposed to this information of positive mentality, of never giving up and always believing in yourself, and that is what my quest is to spread that around. What is yours? You know what it is. Get started. Do something about it. And speaking of relating to you, just this past week, our basement is full of mold. We have these carpet squares, and underneath it, the mold was so terrible. As soon as we flipped one of the carpet squares over, my eyes started watering, mucus was pouring down my face. It was a really bad yeasty mold. I don't know the technical name for it, but my house has been in disarray. So I'm not perfect. Nothing's perfect. You just do the best you can, day by day, minute by minute. You keep positive. You keep on thinking about the better days that are going to come, and you just keep on improving your own self. Like myself, I'm doing this 4-day seminar for fire walking. Will I do it? I don't know, but it's another tool in the tool belt, right? I think I will. I hope I will. I think it'll be really exciting. It could really change lives for people, but you never know. I'm 30 years old right now. Things can change. Ideas can change. Different people can come into my life and push me in one way or next. And I might be, thinking, okay, well, fire walking's not the thing for right now. But you never know when you're going to learn it. You never know when you're going to need it. And you never know the outcome that could happen because of it. So go out there, challenge yourself, get connected, go to meetup.com, start interacting, stop being a hermit, and put yourself out there. And lastly, if you have the chance, go to Tony Robbins. But if you don't want to, just keep on listening to me. Put those vitamins into your brain. Keep on pushing forward. I love you. I support you. And I truly, truly do believe in you, because I know there's people out there that don't believe in you and they don't think what you're doing right now is important, but it is. And if you're struggling and if you're a tweener, you're in between a couple of things, you have no idea, don't worry. It will come to you. Clarity will come, but you just need to keep on pushing forward, keep on asking the right questions, and keep on searching for the answer. It's not going to come just out of nowhere. You're just going to have to be focused on those moments. So I could probably keep on going for a long time, but nonetheless, thank you. And if you're interested, signing up for the email list over at operationselfreset.com. And you'll find all the links for this podcast and all that fun jazz. So we'll catch you next week, Wednesday, for another great interview with who, I don't know, but to be continued. So that's it. I love you guys. Seriously, this is amazing. I appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next week. And until then, send me a text message, call me, email me, Jake at operationselfreset.com. And that's it. We'll talk to you later.